So now we're looking at the Four of Swords. So the Four of Swords is a card about relaxation, rest, recuperation. It's a card that's given us the chance now to pause and relax and even maybe meditate after the challenging times with the card before. So before we move on with our journey or move on to any more challenges, the Four of Swords, we show up to say this is a time to rest and to declutter the mind. So now we will get into the symbolism on this card. So let's get into the symbolism on this card. So the figure in this card is in a lying down position, which indicates rest, recuperation and a pause from activity. Looking at the swords, you've got the three swords here that are hanging above the figure, and these swords symbolise past conflicts or ongoing concerns, whereas the one sword down here that is underneath him indicates rest and a temporary setting aside of conflict. The church window, stained glass church window here in the background, represents spiritual reflection, sanctuary and the healing power of faith and introspection. Coming back to the figure, his hands are in a prayer position, and the hands in the prayer position symbolise meditation, spiritual reflection and a quest for inner peace. So how might the Four of Swords show up in our reading? So it can show up to signify that there's a need for rest and recuperation after a period of stress and conflict. So it's suggesting that now is a time where you may need to recharge your energy, especially after you may have just been through something quite stressful. This card also encourages introspection and reflection. So this means that when this card shows up, it could be saying that now is a time to go within and maybe try and get a clearer perspective on your situation. It can show up in a reading to also say that now is not the time to make any kind of move or take any kind of action. And this could also be in regards to a decision you might be making. So now might not be the time to make any big decisions. Now is a time for pause and for stillness. So it's not a time to be going out, taking action on things, or even making big decisions about things in your life. It's more of a time for resting and going within and just pausing. It can also show up in a reading to talk about recovering from an illness, and it could be a physical illness, but it could also be some kind of mental illness or strain that we've been going through, and it shows up to signify the importance of giving ourselves time to heal and allowing the healing process to take place, and not rushing that or trying to skip that we do need to give ourselves time to be in that space. Can also show up if you've maybe been involved in some kind of ongoing conflict, whether that is at home or at work, and it's coming up to say that you need to avoid that conflict now and take time out from that. It's kind of asking you to retreat away from an ongoing conflict that might be taking place, because you need time to kind of cool off and maybe get new perspectives, so to avoid that conflict situation right now. It can also show up to warn of maybe some kind of overwhelm or burnout that might be approaching if you don't take time to pause and step away and give yourself time to rest. so it can show up to kind of to warn of that, and to to encourage that you do step away from whatever is overwhelming, to avoid that kind of burnout state that might be approaching. So overall, it is a card that is suggesting that we do need to rest, and that we need to take time away from something that may be mentally challenging or even physically challenging, and that we need some time for rest and recuperation right now. And it's not a time for taking action, and it is a time for definitely avoiding conflict and just allowing ourselves to be in that restful, peaceful state.